Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Packers consistently made the wrong choices in the biggest moments against the Eagles. Also, the Giants are officially out on Brian Daboll. And is it Drake Maye or Jonathan Taylor for MVP?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Packers continue to stumble in crucial moments, and it killed them against the Eagles. I reacted to Green Bay's frustrating loss against Philly on last night's episode of Locked On Packers. I have been probably the biggest Matt LaFleur supporter going back to really 2020. I was so impressed with what he was able to do, and that's what makes this so freaking frustrating. Because if I thought he was a bad coach, or I thought Jordan Love was not a good quarterback, or I thought that there was not enough skill talent to make this work, if I thought that were true, I would just come on here and say that. I would just come on here and say, well, the Packers just aren't talented enough. Against the Eagles in the playoffs, they just didn't have the bodies. They didn't have the horses. The Packers were down a bunch of players in this game, and that was not the reason that they lost. The reason that they lost is because this is a sloppy, undisciplined, unfocused, uncoordinated, and poorly called football team on offense right now. No team has lost 3 games this year. By the way, all 3 Packers losses have been in games where the defense allowed 16 or fewer points. In the Aaron Rodgers era, in the Matt LaFleur era, the Jordan Love era, we were begging for a defense that could put together the kind of performance that we saw Monday night. If you had told me at 7:14 Lambeau time, the Packers were going to hold the Eagles to 10 points, I would have told you the Packers were going to win by 2 touchdowns. I would have put my mortgage on it. And that was not how it went down, because on the very first drive, the Packers ran 9 plays. They got 12 yards. And it started run, pass, run, sack, and an incompletion that doinked off Christian Watson's helmet on 3rd and forever. That is, if that's not emblematic of where this team is right now, I don't know what is. This team's obsession with running the ball on early downs is bordering on criminal. This is a pathetic performance from Matt LaFleur. The Packers on early downs, they ran the ball. There was a point where they had run the ball equal to the number of times that they passed. That changed late in the game. A success rate of 30% on 20 early down runs. You cannot in any way justify 20 early down runs against the Philadelphia Eagles. You just can't do it. Not with this offensive line, which has not been good, was not good in this game, and we will talk about the offensive line. But it seemed like every first down started with a run. Every drive, they would get a first down, run. They got the big turnover, run, or RPO. Matt LaFleur, I said this in the first half. If this is the offense you want to call, let Malik Willis play quarterback. Either you don't trust Jordan Love or you are a coward. That's it. That's it. Because I think Matt LaFleur is a smart enough coach to know your offensive line is not good enough for this. Your offensive line is not good enough to handle this. Josh Jacobs is. The offensive line is not. And Mike McCarthy, for whatever questions you had about Mike McCarthy, and look, I had plenty. We were doing a show here on Locked On Packers when Mike McCarthy was the coach. He, in a game like this, when the run game is not working, would have just let the quarterback go. Now, Aaron Rodgers is not Jordan Love. And maybe a better way of saying that is Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers. And Jordan Love did not play well in this game. Certainly not in the first half. The fumble was egregious. You have to eat that sack there. Now, look, we would have lauded him if he got that ball out to Josh Jacobs. But I thought Josh Jacobs in the passing game was a disaster. Turning the wrong way. It seems like the pass protection stuff, like Josh Jacobs just watched a linebacker run right through the A-gap, right at Jordan Love. That stuff can't happen. It can't happen. And so this offense is too talented. It's too good. We've seen it be good. I pointed this out. First in EPA per dropback. Third in EPA per play on offense. That's what this offense was coming into this game. And Matt LaFleur called it like he had Justin Fields at quarterback. What is going on? Stay up to date all year on the Green Bay Packers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Packers on your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, Brian Daboll is out in New York. Before we get to that, the Lakers got some pressure from the Hornets. The NFL season is rolling along, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for this weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The Lakers got some first half pressure from the Hornets, but Luka took over from there.
In the first half, the Lakers did not seem particularly interested in playing defense. And as we established in our preview on Monday's show of this game, the Hornets are incapable of playing defense. So when you combine those two elements together, you get a game that zips along in ways that I don't think made JJ Redick particularly happy. But if you're looking for time efficiency, particularly these East Coast games that run into like dinner and some family responsibilities, It is nice for it to zip along.
Desmond Bain called game against the Blazers.
This is Phil Prosper-Knight, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Center. The Orlando Magic escaped with a 115-112 victory over the Portland Trail Blazers on a buzzer-beating three by Desmond Bain. The only three he made of the night, but at least he took 6 this time. The Magic have struggled to get Bain involved. They made it a point to make him the focal point of the offense tonight. He came through, getting to the basket, making shots. But boy, this one was a sweater. Paolo Banchero led the team up, got him up in the third quarter, struggled down the stretch, made a lot of really poor shot decisions, missed some free throws, but delivered in the end, made the game-tying basket, even if he missed the free throw to put them lead, made the game-clinching steal, or the steal that set up the main shot. And then, of course, the Magic just got the win. They needed the win more than anything else. A humongous victory for the Orlando Magic, a big one to close this 3-game homestand on to New York. We'll see if this Magic team can build on a strong defensive quarter and a strong defensive game, but build on a win. That's all they need.
The East leading Pistons were on the ropes against the Wizards.
Host of Locked On Pistons podcast here, Ku Kahil. This is the most insane game I've ever watched in my entire life. Any basketball game I have ever watched, ever been a part of, there is nothing that comes close to what I just witnessed in this game. The Pistons were down big against the wall. There's so many things I don't even know where to start with, like how insane this game was. Kay gets hurt, falls down, gets up, then falls back down, gets up, then falls back down. Looks like he's in a major injury, goes back to the locker room, then he ends up coming back out before the timeout break and leads the Pistons back. He missed, I should say, over 30 shots. The first time someone's done that since Kobe in 2003, I believe. And despite that, he empties the clip, and in the fourth quarter, when the clutch time arrives, he scores 15 on 6 shots, brings the Pistons back. And then in this corner over here, Dennis Jenkins hits a 3 at the buzzer to send it to overtime. Somehow, some way, the Pistons forced overtime. Somehow, some way, the Pistons get a win out of this. Craziest game I've ever seen. I was in attendance for it, so even crazier. But craziest basketball game I've ever watched in my life. Like, maybe the best game I've ever watched as well, for good and bad reasons.
And the Red Hot Devils took on the Islanders.
Here at the Prudential Center, the Devils are no longer perfect at home. A bummer, but a game that arguably was the best out of the 3-game homestand they played, and yet that's baseball, Susan. That's hockey, Susan. The Devils lose 3-2 in overtime to the New York Islanders. Matt Barzal wins the game at OT for the Isles. But but a lot of positive to take out of tonight. The Devils played very well. Ilya Sorokin stood on his head. Couple caveats I'll get into on the pod tomorrow, but I think everyone in the building is leaving on a high because Shimon Nemec tied the game with a bomb from the point with 4.7 seconds to go. Another moment that this team is just I'm speechless of that. I'm speechless from that. I don't know what else to say. They lost 11-4-1. Oh well, 23 points. Hit the road for Chicago. Get back on track.
The New York Giants have fired head coach Brian Daboll after 3.5 mediocre seasons. Locked On Giants host Patricia Traina assesses Daboll's tenure and the issues that led to his mid-season firing.
Head coach Brian Daboll has been fired by the Giants. Not a surprise, to be honest with you. It was just a matter of when. Ownership decided enough was enough, so they made that move. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about the interim plan and what might change under interim head coach Mike Kafka. And then we'll look ahead beyond this season. And interestingly, this involves Joe Shane as well. So that's what we're going to cover on today's podcast. So again, welcome on into everybody. All right, let's get into it. So when the Giants hired Brian Daboll back in 2022, the hope was, this is a guy who could come in, an offensive guru who had had success up in Buffalo, who had helped to develop Josh Allen into a top-tier quarterback. The hope was that he could replicate some of that success up in Buffalo with the Giants. And, in the beginning, he was on the right track, the right trail. All right, the Giants started off 7-2 under Brian Daboll with a brand new coaching staff that nobody really had ever seen work together. Okay, but things started to crack as the year went on. And what I mean by that is after a 7-2 start, the Giants only won 2 more games under Daboll that year. Now they finished 9-7-1. They made the postseason for the first time since 2016. They won their first postseason game for the first time since 2011. So all was right in the world. Brian Daboll was named, AP Coach of the Year. The future looked bright. Then the bottom fell out. And in retrospect, the bottom started to fall out towards the end of that first season because teams started getting film on the Giants and what they like to do. And the Giants never really adjusted, I think, to what teams were doing to counter their attacks. But anyway, moving forward, in year 2, despite having injuries and whatnot, the Giants had a losing season that continued in year 3. It continued in year 4. Over the last 3 years, the Giants have won just 11 games. They're 11-33 in that span. That includes a franchise worst 3-14 mark last year. All right, their 100th anniversary season, no less. They have the longest road losing streak right now. I believe it's at 11 games. They have lost 4 games in which they have had a 10-point lead or more, right? They've let fourth quarter games slip away. Just a lot of dysfunction, if you will, with the Giants. And here's the thing that I think, really contributed to Daboll being fired. And I talked about this a little bit on Friday's show if you want to check this out. But there were several things, actually. Number one, Daboll's player development left a lot to be desired, all right? So, people sit here and they look at Evan Neal, for example, or Jalen Hyatt, or Deonte Banks, and they say, oh, gosh, those guys are busts. They weren't busts coming out of college. If anything, they were highly rated, highly regarded around the league. Why haven't they developed under this team? Blame it on the coaching, okay? You look at, the quarterback play, Daniel Jones, who, could never really get on track here in New York. You look at guys like Julian Love and Xavier McKinney. All those guys went elsewhere, and suddenly they became good. That was kind of a damning statement against the coaching staff. And who leads that coaching staff? The head coach. You look at the defense. Now, some of you will disagree with me when I say that the Giants are way more talented on defense than what their record shows. I still believe that, but they haven't had the results. Who hired the defensive coordinator? Who decided to stick with the defensive coordinator and keep the status quo? The head coach. All right. You look at the beginning of the year, every season over the last 3 years, the Giants have looked ill-prepared. They've looked sloppy. The tackling has been terrible. That all stems back to the type of training camp being run. Who plans all that? The head coach. All right. I talked on Friday about the country club atmosphere in the locker room with the pool tables and the ping pong tables and the lazy boy recliners and all the games that are all over the locker room. Who allows all that? The head coach.
Stay up to date all year on the New York Giants by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Giants on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, Drake Maye might be playing at an elite level, but he doesn't have a firm grasp on the MVP race just yet. Drake Maye made an MVP statement against the Bucs on Sunday, but he's got some competition for the award. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland and Louis DiBiase believe that Maye is the front runner to win MVP, but Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has firmly placed himself in the conversation.
It was an ugly game at times, Louis, quite honestly, but Drake Maye delivered once again. He had some deep balls down the sideline, some incredible throws with pressure on him, and then Travion Henderson delivers as well. He has now moved to be the MVP favorite on FanDuel. He is by the odds, the favorite to win it. The Patriots keep on winning. Can't be anything more than impressed with what Maye's doing in his second year.
Yeah, and this game kind of convinced me that they're more than just the next version of, last year's Denver Broncos, where it's a team taking advantage of a fourth place schedule, a new coach, fresh, change of pace in the organization. This is a really signature win against a good football team that's battling for the number one seed in the NFC, a place that, look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. Every time they go down to Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles gives quarterbacks hell, young quarterbacks, players that aren't fully developed yet, like a Jalen Hurts, and Drake Maye goes down there. The rain, the weather's not great, and gets the job done. And so, yes, the schedule has been easier for the Patriots this year, but they have now beaten the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those are two signature wins. Drake Maye is playing like an elite quarterback in year two. Elite quarterback play, signature wins. That's a recipe for a team now to be taken very seriously and not just the, next version of what we kind of see every year with teams.
I want to let it be known, I am firmly on the side of a quarterback should probably win this award every year. The most valuable player in the NFL is almost always a quarterback. It's also true this year. There is no quarterback that is separating himself as an MVP. Drake Maye is the default right now because his team has a really nice record against a really bad schedule. And they just beat a pretty mid Buccaneers team that was very lucky to win some games early in the season. And so their record looks better than it should, given the quality of the team. What Jonathan Taylor is doing in Indianapolis in the modern NFL is unbelievable. And the only reason that Daniel Jones is having the kind of season he has, the biggest reason the offense is doing what it is doing, he is surpassing right now through half a season what Saquon did last year. Saquon, he might not have 2,000 yards, but the multi-touchdown games. He's got more multi-touchdown games as a running back than most quarterbacks do this season. Matthew Stafford belongs in the conversation, but they also lost at home to Mac Jones. The Colts, no one expected this. So here they are, almost solely because of Jonathan Taylor. If this keeps up and the quarterbacks continue to play the way that they are, and let's say Matthew Stafford, they lose an ugly game to the Seahawks, it's a 13-10, kind of like we saw Monday night, we're going to start having a real conversation about Jonathan Taylor as the MVP, because I think right now he's been the best player in the NFL that I've seen this season. He deserves it. And finally, Joe Burrow has Thanksgiving circled. Not like, you and I do because we love turkey and mashed potatoes and all that good stuff, but because he wants to play in Baltimore. He's back at practice on a limited basis, testing that surgically repaired turf toe with new cleats and routes on air, but He won't play this week and admits the Bengals record will factor into how hard he pushes at 3-6 with Joe Flacco running a boomer bust offense. Cincinnati's season is wobbling, but if the division stays bunched up, the two-time comeback player of the year might get one more shot at a late run in the same stadium where it all ended last time. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, one of college basketball's biggest rivalries takes center stage as Kentucky squares off against Louisville. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.